And we're live. Okay, how you guys doing? I know I've been hinting. I'm gonna do this a couple of years now, but I don't know. I guess Uh, I'm not that confident in my English, so I've always been apprehensive. I have no wingman. It's just me. But all I want to do is impart the knowledge of animation, which is my passion. I've been doing this for God knows how many years. This whole century I've been animating, so I think it's time to share this with you guys. So this is not a software-oriented show, in which means you could use any kind of software you got. If you can animate in Photoshop, that's good. You can use Adobe Animate. You can use Tahoma. You can use OpenTunes. If you have Toon Boom, if you have like any software that can handle frames and you can control the timeline, would be good, because we're going to go over the basics of animation. And for those who are already experienced in animations, the second hour, and this is an experiment, we're going to be doing challenges just to like extend those animation shops. That's something I did in school. And that's how I felt like I really evolved as an animator when I was in my school days. Like, doing the assignments the teacher assigned us was great, and I don't want to diminish that. But that like bullpen conversation between fellow students that already knew what they're doing, that's when you really start like massaging the concepts and how that's like everybody grew like that. That's something I felt. And when I had the animation school 10 years ago, that's something that I encourage within the students. Like, dude, discuss among yourselves the concepts, see the assignments, ask your fellow classmate how you do this, and the magic lies within there. So that's something that I want to encourage as we progress. I want to do this twice a week. And I don't know if I'm going to do it every Wednesday. Probably it's going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm not sure yet. I'm just trying things out. As I said, I'm nervous because I've never done this alone, and I think I'm talking too much. So let's get right into it. What we'll be using, what I'll be using, it's OpenTunes. And OpenTunes, it's basically an open source software, but it's a very complete one. Like, you can really do great work. I use it professionally, and I get no complaints from clients within quality. And I do full animation, so it's not like cut out like what people used to call flash animation. It's just full on animation. And as you can see, it's mimicking the environment of a pencil and paper environment. For example, you have your animation disk here, like you can see it. It's like the animation disk. That's how we do it. You don't see the registry because you don't need it. It's digital files. So would be dumb if you have like your square peg, round peg, square peg, like would be like the animation registry in paper. But yeah, you can zoom out. I'm scrolling with the mouse here, zoom in and zoom out, and you can move it around with the left uh, with the left button of your mouse, and you can rotate pressing Control and Spacebar. So that way you can, you know, use the comfortable angles of your hands when you're drawing. So yeah, this is a very complete software in order to draw in OpenTunes. And this is something that if you, if you come in later, like you can watch it on the replay. In order to draw in OpenTunes, you have columns here, which would be like your layers, but they're laid in uh, a vertical presentation, which is basically how they used to do it, like DX sheets, like what you use in an animation studio. Like, they will be vertical. You can turn them into an horizontal, which would be more something more akin to Flash or Adobe Animate. But I'd rather keep it like in a traditional, in the sense that we're in we're using like a proper X sheet. Like, I don't know, I love that. So in order to draw, you need to create your levels. So you have columns here, but they're empty, right? So in order to create a surface where to draw, you have to define what kind of level you're creating. To create a level, you press Control N or Alt N, I think it's, yeah, Alt N. Or you come to the column, you right click and say New Level. See, Alt N. There you go. So once you get that there, you get several options here. You got Tune Vector Level, Tune Raster Level, or Raster Level, and a Scan Level. So the Tune Vector Level, it's self-explanatory. You can draw vectors in it. I will try to shy away from vectors from the time being, because it just makes things, will basically distract you from what we're trying to do. All right. So we're going to be working with raster levels. So you go to your second option, raster level, you press OK, and then you get a green, a green tick here, which will allow you to draw. You go to your tools, you look for your pen, what's a brush, and here you go. Here you go. You can draw now. If you didn't have your level, let me go back. You see, it will create a vector level right away. But we want to shy away from vector. Why? Because this line will do what he wants, and this is better like for cleanup. Like if you come in and you select it, there's a way to modify it. I haven't used vectors in a while, so I'd be rusty there, but I think it's C. Yeah, there you go. You see, it's a vector. We're trying to avoid that for the time being. So let's go back, Alt N, Tune Raster Level, and there we go. Now you press brush and we can draw at our heart's content. Now this is the generic brush. If you go close to it, you see it gets like pixelated because it's raster. And you control the gauge of the width of the pencil here with size. Size minimum, well, the timing is kind of like covering it. You just have a size minimum and a size maximum. So the bigger you go, you see like you have an outer cursor, and that's like to apply pressure levels to your pen, right? That's if you're using open tools. Like I really don't want to focus on the tool itself, because that's not the exercise. What I really want to teach you is what animation is all about, and it's basically 12 principles that you have to cover, and you cover those principles through a series of exercises. The first exercise we're going to be doing, and this is for completely beginners, most people do this exercise in an hour, but then they'll analyze what they do and they'll do it again. I advise you guys do this 3 or 4 times for you to grasp exactly what we're trying to do, and it's the bouncing ball. So what we're going to do is basically understand the principles of line of action, timing, and spacing, and squash and stretch. Okay, so basically, what's our line of action? Our line of action is basically where our action is following. So you have a movement coming from left to right. Your line of action would be a straight line from left to right. In the example we're doing today, which is the bouncing ball, what I want you to do is to basically animate a ball bouncing twice on screen and getting off screen. So how that line of action would look like? It would look something like this. Let's change the color. Let's create another color palette. There we go. Be something that would look like this, right? So simply put, We got a ball coming in. It will bounce on the floor. The force of the bounce will project it into the air. It will start losing momentum. Gravity will do its job, fall down again, and then get off the screen. If you notice the parables of the balls of the bounces, a decrease is ball loses energy as it traverses. So that's basically what we mean by line of action. So timing and spacing. Timing and spacing would be in how do we split the second. If you see in your frame rate here, you see 1 through 6, 7 to 12, 13 to 18, 19 to 24. At 24, we mark empty cell so you can see it graphically. But what I did just here is create empty cells, and that will create basically empty cells. So you can see graphically this green representation of what a second is. We're animating at 24. I know there are different frame rates we could apply. Like you go 24 for cinema, 29.97 for video, and NTSC. I think PAL is 25. You get your frame rates for progressive scan and 60. And I mean, we can just get a whole day discussing frame rates. But right now, we're going to animate at 24 because we have more control over the second that way. And the thing is, like, once you grasp the timing control at 24, when you go to another frame rate, you basically apply what you know to a different frame rate. You know what I mean? But at 24, it's easier to grasp and it's less drawings, which is desirable at this junction. I guess that would be the word. So you get your line of action, basically ball coming in, bouncing again, and through that, then we go to timing and spacing. So now what's timing and spacing? See, so if our second, you see, I'm creating another frame. That's for another. If our second is 24 frames, that's the constant, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up until 24. That's a constant speed as that the frames are moving. So spacing, since our timing is a constant, the spacing means that what space we put between the drawings will determine how fast the drawing is going or how slow the drawing is going. In what sense? How we see that graphically. So if we have 2 frames, 1 and 2, and we have this, and we have 1 and 2, and we have 1 and 2, see, the ball is traversing a lot more space in the same time. So this one's faster than this one. And that's what we're going to do right now. Like during the bouncing ball, at what moments do the ball go fast and on what moments do the ball go slower? So it would look like something like this. You get the ball coming in, then you do another ball here. So gravity is pulling the ball down. So that would mean to accelerate the movement of the ball. We see the space we got here. We increase the space. See? So it starts going faster. Right? Then you can do here, and then you do the contact. Right? So this is 24 frames, constant speed. Spacing is the space between the drawings. So this is drawing 1, drawing 2, drawing 3, drawing 4, drawing 5. What I mean by this, if we go to animate, let me just bring the opacity of this layer down a bit. And around this. This is what I mean by this. Let's create another layer, another vector layer. Here you see drawing 1. We draw it right here. Drawing 2. See, I'm on frame 1. I go to frame 2. See, drawing 3. Drawing 4. Drawing 5. and drawing 6. If we bring the playback, this little ticks here are for the playback. So you can see exactly what you're doing. You press L for playback. You see? This is basically how you do animation. So you might say, like, this is quite fast. This is quite fast, and you would be right. So what we're gonna play now with, it's called exposure. So exposure, let me move this down. Exposure is basically how many frames do you expose your drawings. So this is when the term exposing on ones and exposing on twos come into frame, or exposing on fours. What we mean is you expose one drawing for one frame. That's exposing on ones, right? If you expose the drawing, every 2 frames, that's exposing on twos. Then if you grab one drawing and you expose it for 12 frames, for example, an X amount of frames, which like will the character or whatever you're animating holds its position, that's called the hold, right? And I mean, you decide what kind of exposure you want. You want exposure on 1, 2s, 4s. It's very I very rarely see exposure in 3s. But the thing is, like, all these are principles, not rules. So principles, you apply them. Rules, like you obey them. So don't feel restricted to the things I say. Like, the needs of the animation piece you're doing will determine what you need. So if what you're doing asks for an exposure increase, then that's what it is. But I mean, I rarely see it. So now let's see how this looks with an exposure in 2s. Let me get a fill empty cells. There we go. Bring up the tick here. And let's bring the opacity of this guy down a bit. And you see, so now it's going slower. So what I want you guys to do, I'm not going to save this because I already have the scene. Let's see, we have the bouncing ball. There we go. Discard changes. Load scene anyway. So what I want you to do, let me just, is to do a layout that looks like this. Okay? So you got your line of action coming in and coming out. You got your timing, the timing of the animation. So basically, in your head, you just count how many bounces the ball is going to do. 1, 2. Just count it. Like, I see it in 2 seconds, 1.5 seconds. So 2 seconds would be 48 frames. 1.5 seconds would be 38 frames if we use the 24 frames per second frame rate. And then knowing that and knowing what we did with timing and spacing, we'll just say, okay, if it's 2 seconds, we're going to need, you got one action, another action onto the top of the first arc, and other action coming down, and then other action coming down. So we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got 6 drawings coming down. So we're exposing on truths. We're talking about 24. We got 6 drawings coming here, although it's 12. 6 drawings coming down and 6 drawings getting out. This graph you see here, it's basically a graphic representation of how I see the timing by section. For example, here we got drawing 1. Let me make sure I'm on the right. Drawing 1 is here, represented here. So drawing 2 would be here. You see the spacing. Drawing 3, there's more space. Drawing 4, there's more space than drawing 3. Drawing 5, it's even more. Drawing 6 and 7 is my contact. Now you see how the shape changes in drawing 7. That's the other principle that we were applying on this exercise called squash and stretch. So basically, things we're taking into account the mass and the material that our ball is made of. Let's assume it's rubber. When it hits the ground, it's going to deform because of the impact. That's how it's going to squash. So if we got a ball that looks like this, when it hits the ground, it's going to do something that looks like this, right? It's going to squash. It's going to, you know, stretch to the sides. And then when it hops up, and in regular animation, we don't have effects like blurring or whatever, or that kind of stuff that you use in Photoshop or After Effects. We do stretches. So basically, following the line of action, the ball is going to stretch. Now, how do you? What's the secret of squash and stretch? You gotta control the volume of you gotta control the volume of the shape. So how do we do that? Let me just close, not close, but hide. How do you control the volume? Let's make another one. Basically, you have your basic shape and you have your mass. You find your center here, right? Taking into account the center of your object, you would draw a line to stretch, and you see you have a little space here. You measure that and you give it to the sides. That way, you're squashing the shape and maintaining a semblance of the same volume. And that could be applied, in every direction. Like if you're doing a stretch, following the line of action like we were doing on the model sheet, on our layout, I mean. You got this space, you measure this, you got here, measure this, you got it here. Let me do it in another color so you can then see it better. So you see, it doesn't have to be exact, but it needs to be close. Exactitude, is that a word? I don't know, probably not. But exact to be when you're cleaning up your drawings, you want to be a little bit more precise with the volumes. But if you're doing approximation in your roughs, as long as it's not too crazy, you're fine. But this is basically the principle. Whatever you take from, add it on the stretch or squash side, and you basically maintain proper volumes here. Let me erase this because this doesn't belong here. So yeah, this is very new. This is I'm probably going to do a Discord or some space where we can discuss more. Right now, if you get to see the video and you have questions, look for me at X. You can find me as Anguilla there. So direct your questions there to me. I'm gonna hide. Let me edit here. And sorry, let me put that here. Sorry about that. Gila on X. Save. Okay. So yeah, so follow me there at Anguilla on X, and there you can direct your questions at me. So basically, once you do your own, layout, determining your line of action, the amount of time you want your bouncing ball to traverse to the screen, you should end up with something that looks like this. Let me hide this. Press L. Yeah. So fairly simple. This shouldn't take you that much to do, maybe like an hour tops. And again, do it and then look at it, see for mistakes. Like mistakes are going to be fairly evident. Like if you don't follow the line of action, the ball is going to be jittering all over around. If you mess up the squash and stretch, you're going to see like the ball growing as it squashes. Like it shouldn't grow. It should feel like it squashes, not grow. And if you have problems with timing, like you're going to have the ball accelerating and decelerating at odd times. Like it would look weird to you. So what you should do is Do it the first time, follow the instructions. You can go back and listen, uh, and then try it. Like, this is something that you learn by doing. So basically, once you finish the bouncing ball example, let me just save this and stop it. Now I want you to think about the second example, which I tend to like people to do that in tandem because it helps you with the concepts. This second example, I did it with a mistake on it, so you can see what happens when you don't apply proper timing. But I did it with a bouncing ball. So now let's see. Let's open up that load scene, the bowling ball. Okay, here we go. So with a bowling ball, we got the same thing. We got the ball bouncing. Since it's a different mass, it's more solid. It's not going to squash, and it's not gonna bounce as much as the bouncing ball, as the rubber ball. But the mistake I made here, and this was done on purpose. If you see the spaces of the ball as it traverses, it starts gaining momentum. That shouldn't happen. Okay, the ball should lose momentum, should lose energy as it traverses, because there's nothing. It's not attached to a motor. It's just like kinetic energy, so it basically depletes. So what happens when I press play? You see, the ball accelerates unnaturally on this area. So you see, those are the little mistakes you should look for when you're doing this kind of exercises, and that's why it's a simple design. I know, like, most of you guys know how to draw, and it's like, I want to do I don't know, a warrior with a sword, with a flaming sword, and shooting like a Gatling gun. Like, I understand that. I understand the bravado, but grasping these concepts, you need to do it simple, because we need to isolate the different aspects of what animation is. So when you go to the more difficult designs, you don't get lost in the design, and then you see, like, okay, the animation looks weird, but why? By doing this exercise, you know exactly why, and you'll know how to basically correct the, I don't know, mistakes is a harsh word, but you'll know how to correct, how to make it look better. All right, so that's why we're gonna keep it simple, and I hope this is making sense to you guys, because I don't know if anyone's watching. I don't think you are, but hey, it's all right. It's all right. This is an experiment. I'm gonna be doing this periodically. So yeah, that's the bouncing ball and the bowling ball. So if you guys wanna get on it, just let me know. Let's communicate on X, and let's get this ball rolling. Awesome. So, okay, I guess this is all for today. Yeah, episode 1. Take care, guys. Awesome.